There's a secret hush of magic when winter lingers on, when our garden patch is still a quilt of white. Daddy puts me on his back. We snowshoe trails. Look, rabbit tracks. A taste of frost, a drink of fresh, a sip of clear and wintry air. Feel the sun come smiling in as days of longer light begin. Underneath, beneath the earth, cinnamon ferns, bulrush roots, garlic bulbs, garlic sprouts. Can you hear those parsnips shout? No, let us yet, but let us out. Dig us out. Out from under snowy blankets, out from frozen mud and straw. Bring us in, make a stew. I sip parsnip soup, do you? Slugs, snails, beetles, worms, turtles, bears, hibernation everywhere. Snoring, snoozing, fast asleep. Are they dreaming deep? Dreams of spring, dreams of summer, dreams of berries, rivers running. Do they dream of gardens growing? Look, Mama's ordered seeds for sowing. Keep humming on, hum, the hum-along song. Ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything.
Wow, I get emotional every time I see that. Welcome everyone to the first day of spring and to the launch of this beautiful new book, Sing in the Spring, written by Sheree Fitch with incredible quilt artwork by Deb Plestid. A quick thank you to Amanda Gallagher for that beautiful book trailer. I'm Whitney Moran and I'm the managing editor of NimbusPublishing, and it was my honor to work with Deb and Sheree on this book. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that while this event is online, Nimbus Publishing is located in Mi'kma'ki on the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are broadcasting to you today from Indigenous land. We are grateful and humbled to be here, and we have made a lifelong commitment to reconciliation and decolonization. We encourage you to become familiar with the Indigenous peoples whose land you occupy, live in gratitude and community, and think of allyship as a verb. Today, we'll be starting with some opening words from Sheree and Deb, followed by a reading of the book, and then a short discussion about bookmaking. And finally, we have some time for a Q&A with the audience. So if you think of questions as we go, feel free to pop them in the little Q&A that you'll see on the bottom of the screen. So you can write your questions there. You can also feel free to comment in the chat. Please let us know you're here and where you're coming from, and tell us what you most look forward to about spring. I have someone in the chat saying that they can't hear, so I'm not sure if that's an issue for others. Maybe a couple people could tell us if they can hear us okay, just so we know. I'm not sure if that's just a problem with that person's computer or not. Okay, someone else says they can hear. Great. Okay, so here we go. Welcome, Sheree and Deb. It's so amazing to be in a virtual room with you both. And you're both wearing green. I did not get that memo. Apologies. But yeah, so excited to be here with you. I'm going to introduce you both to everyone one at a time. And we're going to start with the illustrator of the book, the incredible artist and debut picture book illustrator, Deb Plestid. Surrounded by an Acadian forest and farm fields in northern Nova Scotia, Deb Plestid plays with fabric, thread, and paint. Her eye is drawn mostly to nature, mathematics, light, and shadow, exploring colors, textures, and life. Her work is in collections in North America, Europe, and the Middle East. Her singular pleasure is eliciting a smile with her work. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you so much. It is my great pleasure to be on this, my very first book launch. I want to say thank you to you, Whitney, for having worked on this project. You have made this an effortless endeavor. I am so grateful to Sheree for seeing something in me that I didn't know I had, and for introducing me to the idea of illustrating this book. It's just a wonderful thing to have happened in my life, and I'm very grateful to be here today, and I really look forward to what people have to say about the book and what they have to say about spring, and look forward to having a little bit of fun. Thank
and you can see some of Deb's beautiful original quilts behind her, which is really amazing. Hopefully people get a chance to see them in person sometime, maybe this summer. Thank you so much, Deb. And now we have author Sheree Fitch, who you may know. Sheree Fitch is an award-winning poet, storyteller, and educator. Her picture books, novels, and plays have delighted both children and adults since 1987. Sheree lives with her husband, Jill, in River John, Nova Scotia, on their hobby farm, Happy Doodle Doo, with a donkey, 2 dogs, a cat, and a few other critters. They run a seasonal bookstore, Mabel Merple's Bookshop and Dreamery, which highlights storytelling, literacy, and Atlantic Canadian books and writers. Welcome, Sheree.
Hi, Whitney. The dog just came in to say hi to us too. Hi, Whitney. Everybody. The dog just came in. Excuse me. I'm just so. This is a dream come true for me. It really, truly is. It was in 1988. The first time I looked at a quilt behind Woozle's counter and had this, that would be so amazing to have quilt work in a book for children, the work of women's hands. And I'm going to get emotional here. When I looked the first time at Deb Plestid, I went, who is she? She's a friend. I know she is. And little did I know what an incredible friend she would be. But I had no idea at the time what an incredible artist she was. And, she and her husband, David, inspire me. They are stewards of the land. They are gardeners. They are, I waited till I was almost 55 before I got back to a place of silence and solitude and nature, and have just embraced this life. But Deb and David have done it their whole life. And to me, this book is about those things I love, the work of women's hands and nature, and to try and find words to celebrate the miracle of nature took, and Deb was so patient. It took a long, long time and a lot of listening in order to get a manuscript that I was happy enough that I thought would serve Deb's beautiful work. So thanks, and Whitney and Nimbus, because you were so embracing of this idea from the get-go. So thank you. And this is a dream come true.
Oh, and there's so much joy. I was going to say joy in this room, but you know what I mean? The room of our hearts that's like all together right now. And we're going to talk a little bit more later about how the book came to be and how the words came and how the art came. Before we do that, I know we just got a little bit of a taste of it in the trailer, but we're actually going to have Sheree read the book for us. And Andy from the Writers Fed, who is being so lovely and helping us in the background, he's going to be showing the illustration. So if you don't have a copy of the book yet, it's okay. You can see the illustrations soon. So let's get ready.
Okay. There's a secret hush of magic when winter lingers on, when our garden patch is still a quilt of white. For all the while, underneath the frozen earth, dormant daffodils prepare for birth. Curled up baby fiddleheads sleep like so many questions buried deep. And sometimes when the nights are long, Mama sings a hum-along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring, sparkly light on everything. Daddy puts me on his back. We snowshoe trails. Look, rabbit tracks, a taste of frost, a drink of fresh, a sip of clear and wintry air. Feel the sun come smiling in as days of longer light begin. Underneath, beneath the earth, Cinnamon ferns, bulrush roots, garlic bulbs, garlic sprouts. Can you hear the parsnip shout? No lettuce yet, but let us out. Dig us, dig us, dig us out. Out from under snowy blankets, out from frozen mud and straw. Bring us in, make a stew. I sip parsnip soup, do you? Slugs, snails, beetles, worms, turtles, bears, hibernation everywhere, snoring, snoozing, fast asleep. Are they dreaming, dreaming deep? Dreams of spring, dreams of summer, dreams of berries, rivers flowing. Do they dream of gardens growing? Look, Mama's ordered seeds for sowing. Will this winter ever end? Winter's blast was, almost past. But today there is another storm. Wind blows wild, windows clatter, bang and clang and boom and batter. Power's off, doesn't matter. We're inside all toasty warm. Cuddle, huddle by the fire, purring kittens, needles clicking, Oma's knitting woolly mittens. Wood smoke happy, firewood crackling. Favorite books now snuggle closer. Sleepy, cozy, warming, toesy. Yawning long, eyelids closing, lay your head on Mama's lap, dozy, dozing. Hum, hum, keep humming on. Hum, hum, or hum along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything. Sharp as saber-toothed tiger teeth. Icicles along the eaves melt down, drip by drop. A warm wind blows, gobbles up the last of snow, sips ice from ponds. Soon, soon, winter will be gone. The frozen river cracks and groans, like a giant's belly rumbles, like a thunder god who grumbles. Fee, fi, fo, fum! Now cracked open, sun shimmers, water ripples, chunks of ice swirl past, crash on the riverbank. Water flows, eagles swoop. Spring thaw has come. Wake up! Green still hiding underground, but look, Buzzy swarms on sun-warmed window panes. And listen, now, here, all around, as the world begins to buzz, alive. Ladybugs, blue bottle flies. Hello again. Surprise, surprise! Sharp green arrows, those asparagus tips, hiding shy, pushing up, always up towards the sky. Buds of leaves still curled in knots, just like teeny polka dots, spots of green on bare branch trees. Soon buds will bloom and leaves unfurl. Yes, shimmery light on everything. Will chickadees and robins sing? Spring music's the mad jazz, glad jazz, busy, buzzy bug dance by day, then dum-de-dum, hush and hum. Evening comes. Dragonflies prepare to fly, a whisper, flitter, lullaby. Peepers peep before we sleep. Somewhere, pollywogs are wiggling. Papa plays his saxophone, our toe tap, finger snap. Spring music. Hum, hum, keep humming on. Hum, hum, our hum along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything. Spring rain comes, slanted sideways. Sprays misted faces. Spring rain, says Mama, is Mother Nature's gift. Spring rain drips honey sweet. Spring rain on the roof, tap dancing pixie feet. Spring rain's garden fairies weeping happy tears. Down, 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 seeping deep underground. Showering our garden patch, washing earth April fresh. Drip, drop, drip, flip, flop. Fill our barrels full. Mud is soapskin slimmery on a mud luscious day after rain when sky heaves itself heavy on earth with a sigh. Air full of worm smell, the snicker of grass turning green. Here we skip in mudlicious wonder, healing holes in the ground in a marble-eyed frenzy, and the mystery of mud is a tambourine tune. Wind chapped cheek time, clothes flapping on the line. No long underwear, wind streaked fresh hair. Breathe deep, drink air, find a muddy puddle, splash! Hum, hum, keep humming on. Hum, hum, our hum along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything. Our spangled hens are loose again. Pesky, speckled, pecking friends. Shoo, go back to yard and coop. Shoo, before the eagles swoop. We don't want your chicken soup. We don't want your chicken poop. Wow. Polka dotted feathers fly, polka dotted feathers float, almost like it's snowing out. Glad you had your walkabout. Now, please go lay an egg or two. Cock a doodle doodle doo. Butter feathered chickens are better weather friends. Fuzzy little babies from speckled mama hens. Chicks chirp, beginnings again. Hum, hum, keep coming on. Hum, hum, our hum along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything. Does a butterfly fly better because there's butter in its wings? Does a butterfly flutter by a buttercup in spring? Does a butterfly have a mother? Is its brother still a bitter caterpillar crawling on the ground? I would love to ask that little butterfly, but the butterfly is such a slippery flutterer. It never ever settles down. Sorry, I laughed at myself. Okay. Worm squiggle squirm underground to warm in rich brown chocolate dirt. I've got skipping rope hopes with a hopscotch itch. Can you smell the sky in my shirt? Now, dig, dig, dig. I'm digging in the dirt. I'm a dirty little digger in my Earth Day dirty shirt. Gonna dig till we're done. I'm a dirty little digger, dirty fun in the sun. Wahoo! Earth Day, birthday, digging in the dirt day, muddy rubber boot day, dirty little digger day. Hum, hum, keep humming on. Hum, hum, our hum along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything. We plant seeds here, we plant seeds there, we plant sunflower seeds in a round kind of square. We will wait and water, and as we wait, we dream of summer. Our sunflowers, our fun flowers grow taller than tall, become a sunflower fort, then in we'll all crawl. Yes, then in we will creep, read a few books, play hide and seek, or fall fast asleep. Oh, it will be a beautiful garden. Just wait and see. A jubilant jungle, a colorful tangle, a juicy green jumble. Sunflower secrets in every seed. Dreaming, waiting, patiently. They're back. They're here, like every year. Yes, the first hummingbirds just appeared. We become hummingbirds while Mama hums her hum-along hummingbird song. We sing, we dance, we fly about with our silken wings, shout up to the sky, it's spring, it's spring. Green is the smell of beginnings again. Hum, hum, keep humming on, hum, hum, hum along song. Bring in, ring in, sing in the spring. Sparkly light on everything. Yes, spring. Heart sparkly, gold glittery, glad shimmery, light on everything. The end.
Yay!
Oh.
Amazing. What a
That's
treat.
wonderful. Beautifully done, Sheree.
To real people. It's the first time I read it to real people.
Yeah, the parents out there, good luck reading it like that to your kid. But at least you get an idea, you know. Thank you so much, Sheree. It's so amazing to see the quilts and the text interacting, and yeah, just like so proud of this project and thrilled to be here with you both. So I have a couple questions, and just a reminder, if anyone has questions that they want to ask during the Q&A, you can feel free to add them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat, but it's easier if they're all there. So let's get started. So before I get into the biggest question, I just want to start with why spring? You both write there's a beautiful note at the end of the book. Make sure you read it, everyone. It gives you a bit of an idea where the inspiration comes from. But in that note, Sheree, you say, I love this world, this magical earth. I love the cycle of seasons, and green is the smell of beginnings again. And Deb, you say, spring is where my heart lives. Think of how winter becomes spring. It's all art, in fact. So I want to know, what is it about spring that inspires you? And Deb, I'm hoping we can start with you.
Okay. I think that for spring, it's the mystery of it. So we have winter, and winter, everything is hidden. And I see it kind of as a metaphor, the stuff that's hidden in us personally, like as people, and the stuff that's hidden in earth, in sort of in the outside world. And for me, spring is like everything emerges. And in the way that the world transforms, that's what spring brings for me. And so it's the way things come alive, and I just see it as a time where people also come alive. So it's what's happening in the trees. It's the emergence of pussy willows. It's what I know is under the ground getting ready to emerge. And I guess for me, it's such a joyful time because of those things. And I also love spring because it presents slowly. And for me, it's like how people grow and change. It's like this little bit happens, and then another little bit happens, and then it's the wonder of people. It's the wonder of the world. And I love in the world is that there's so much we don't know yet. And spring for me is the epitome of that, is that we know it's going to come, and we have to trust that it's going to come. And then it does. And it's like there's a bit of reaffirmation sort of in the power of the world and in the power of self, I guess, as well. So I see it as much more than just, well, spring is here, now the weather is nice. And I do love that too, but it feels bigger than that for me.
Wow,
And
that's so
I get to
beautiful.
put my hands in the dirt again.
Mhm.
So after a long absence of not being able to put my hands in the dirt, I get to do it. And for me, that's just totally exciting. I'm very at home there. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. That was really nice. Sheree, what would you like to add to that?
Well, everything that Deb said, yes. I at first, when I wanted to do this book with Deb, because I was so inspired by her garden, I thought it was going to be a book about a garden. And I tried that, and I tried that, and I tried that. And, I'm a digger. I dig in the dirt, but I'm not a gardener. There's a difference. So at a certain point, I went, that's not this book with Deb. And then I realized, like, I'd done a book on summer, and I'd done a little bit, but to me, there's, I mean, not to get too layered or anything, but when I say green is the smell of beginnings again, I really believe at a very deep level in, that death rebirth cycle, so much of what Deb said. But I really wanted to capture the anticipatory part of it, that coming out of the darkness, the days getting lighter, and then waiting until we see those incredible signs burst forth from the earth or appear in the trees. And to me, I would use the word miraculous, and it is deeper for me on a very profound level too. 3 people I loved all decided to pass on in the month of March. And so each time, because I was coming out of grief, the wonder and the beauty and the mystery and the miracle of this earth actually not only fulfilled my heart and those spaces in my heart, it made me really believe in rebirth in a very profound way. So it's almost theological to me. I'm not religious, but I really think, nature is kind of my religion, and somehow saying yes and thank you to this profound mystery that is the turning of the seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
I think when people look at this book, hopefully they will feel all of those things that you both said, because no one who didn't feel so profoundly about this time of year could ever have been able to capture it in this way. And it's so complex, and there's so much more to it than, like you said, Deb, like the weather getting better. And I think especially in these past few years when we've all been sort of slowing down, even if we didn't want to. I remember last year, or no, it was the first year of the pandemic, I remember saying to myself, I actually watched spring happen this year. I've never done that before. Like all those little signs that you mentioned, you would see them because you were in your house every day and watching those same trees. And so I think hopefully people will get that and maybe understand where you're coming from. So that, Sheree, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'd love, and I'm sure people want to know, I know I've seen one question in the chat already that someone wanted to know what came first, the quilts or the words. But basically my question is, it's clear that this book was very much a labor of love for both of you, and something that really took many years to come together. So can you give people an idea of how this book came to be, a little bit of its origin story, and also how you two became acquainted with each other?
Well, I can go first. I remember seeing Deb on Linda Little's doorstep. That's the first time I saw her. I was coming to Linda Little's ice cream social. That's how and then I got to know her, and then I got to see her art. And yeah, I mean, French, I guess it's the first time, Whitney, I have to say, that I ever decided to do a book, and I knew that unless Deb was the artist, I wasn't gonna, like, we'd move on to another publisher, because it was the first time I ever picked an artist first and then said, would you like to do a project with me? And so I had the overall beauty of Deb's work in my head, and also her spirit and her connection with the earth and all of that. So and I know that when I saw this, the snowshoe quilt, that I would be able to find a way to go through that transition in a very cyclical way, and from the snowshoe trails to the hummingbird wings. And so for me, that's how it was, Deb. I think it was. I mean, maybe a few dinner parties or two. I have a really good picture of me sitting on your lap at your birthday, Deb, and I was almost thinking that's a really good. And then I was like, no, maybe it looks a little bit like Sherry's had a bit too much. No, anyway. That I was so excited. We were celebrating Deb's birthday. So yeah, it is a great project when it creates that way, which I've never done before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a really interesting time for me, because when Sheree started, I mean, as she had mentioned earlier, it was more, she had a notion of it being like all 4 seasons in a single book. And for me, it was such an interesting process watching how Sheree came to what the book would be, and what the thread through the book would be, and having the verse. And what I feel my role in it has been is to make sure that what I did supported all the words that Sheree had, to take that verse and to magnify it visually, because for me the verse is that strong. And so and it's a really hard thing, because it's very much like commissioned work, where you need to meld not only what your vision of something is, but understand how it belongs to, it doesn't just belong to me, because it belongs to Sheree, it belongs to Nimbus, it belongs to the world now. And so I want to be able to elevate my work so that it meets the words in a really supportive way. And so that's what I see as kind of my role was. And a really big part of it for me was that Sheree, from the very, very start, I mean, it took me about a millisecond to say, oh yes, I would love to do this. But behind that millisecond was, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because I've never had a project this big. And so what I got, though, was that Sheree trusted me to be able to do it. And it's a huge gift to have someone say, please go ahead, do what you do, and to go ahead and do what I do. And so that was I mean, I know it's a really unusual a way of doing a book. And so for Nimbus, I mean, a huge heart thanks for this, because I know that normally the author writes the book and the publisher chooses the illustrator. And Whitney, you said, yeah, let's go ahead. And I mean, that's a huge gift. And so that's sort of what I see as kind of some of the backstory to the book, was that it was many different pieces, and it took some time for me to figure out, you know, how the illustrations would be made, you know, like from what point of view. And so when Sheree said to me, it's from the eyes of a child, it was like, oh, I totally get it. I can totally work with. And, you know, having grandchildren now and having had children, I mean, we know that children see the world in a very, in a kind of a nuanced way, but also in sort of this magical way. They don't see it like we see it as adults. They have questions that we stopped asking years ago. And so part of what I needed to do was just to be with children, but also when your hands are in the dirt and when you're just out there, you can see things up close. And, you know, Whitney, you had mentioned being in the, you know, that time in the pandemic where you just had to stop because you had to stop, and you had time to notice and you had time to listen. I have that almost all the time. So I spent a lot of time looking and listening. And so when I see a June bug, I just see this iridescent purple. It's like, how could I possibly get this iridescent purple the way I want it to look in a fabric? Like, how can I add it? So yeah, I guess that's my piece.
And I think for me, it was very clear too that this was a collaboration from the beginning. You know, it's not, yes, the origin story is a bit different, but that's part of what makes it so special too. And it was sort of inextricable from either of you, right? It's like, this is your work, the two of you. And what Sheree said about, you know, there's so much about the tactile here, and like hands in dirt, hands with, you know, making quilts and making things. And I know that's something that Sheree's always been drawn to. So I think it's so fascinating to be able to show people that. And I'm really glad people got to see the quilts on the screen in their full form. Someone did have a question from the Q&A that I'm just going to throw in here now, because it's sort of leads from what we were just saying. Susie wants to know, what was the creative process of coming up with the ideas for each of the quilted pictures? Did you sketch it out first and agree together on a drawing? It all looks beautiful. Thank you.
Shall I go?
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So the process, Sheree gave me the text, and I knew how many pages the book would be, and then I would take each of the text for each of the pages, and I really start from whatever sparked my interest in that page. It was about what I could magnify in that page, and so I did a lot. I did rough sketches for everything, and it wasn't that, you know, anyone approved, but I had done all the rough sketches, and then I shipped it off to Whitney. And so Whitney and Heather, they went through those images and gave me some very helpful pointers, but there wasn't sort of agreement on each. Everything was done, and then we just went from there.
Yeah, it was funny when you used the word effortless earlier, because this took a lot of work from you, Deb. Yeah, sure. Add in, Sheree.
I was thinking that too. No, I was thinking of that too, Deb. The effort was just, I mean, maybe that's another word, but I didn't see the quilts until they were done, for the most part. Every once in a while, Deb would send me those beautiful videos, and I would see the making. And so I go over to Deb's, and there'd be another one, you know, and she'd go here, and I would go. And I mean, I just totally trusted her to absolutely do what she would do. And Deb's right. Her gifts are so obvious to everybody who knows her too, and knows her work. And I just knew that whatever happened on I would love it, and I just knew that. So
Yeah, and there was another question about that too. Someone was asking if Deb actually made all the quilts in the book and they were photographed, or if they were illustrations that made to look like quilts. Deb quilted every single illustration.
Oh yeah, they are definitely all quilts, and quilt. I mean, it's kind of a funny word too, because normally when we think of the word quilt, we think of what I put on my bed and what I would wrap myself around in. And when we use the word quilt, I mean, it really is, it's layered. So there's the top piece, there's a middle piece, and then there's a back piece, and it's all stitched together. So yes, they are all quilts, and they're all stitched. And I mean, I used a lot of different kinds of techniques. And so some of the fabrics are commercial fabrics, and some of the fabrics I painted, and some of them I altered in some way. And yeah, I mean, it really is play. It's kind of serious play, but it is play.
Yeah, you can tell how much fun you had with this, and just totally, I love how you just built off Sheree's words. Like, one of the ones that comes to mind for me is the slugs and the asparagus tips. Like, that encapsulates like a child's perspective so well. I think so. Yeah, just every time you read this, there's fun little things to find, and it's new every time. So it's really amazing. Oh, and someone else just wanted to comment on
Whitney, can I just say something?
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say the work that Deb did. I mean, that was my dream, to have real quilts and have that be the art and have it be quilted art. But the work that Deb did under a time constraint as well, because I took so darn long to finish, but it's the work of a master artist is what we're seeing in this book. And she said it's play and it's serious play. Well, I take my nonsense seriously. It is serious joy is what I call it. There's a craft and an art to it. Even if what I do is folk art, I still believe that it is an art that you are creating. So Deb just said it right. It's serious play. It's serious. Play.
And yeah, one of the main definitions of folk art is just art for people, art for the people. And I think that's really what you've captured here. It's so much joy in this book. And I just love that we're here on the first day of spring. It's so perfect. Now I have a question that's more for you, Sheree. Do you want to talk a little bit about the process of writing the poem and what made you want to include the sort of sing-song refrain? Like, what is it about spring that inspires not only poetry but song for you?
So, great. I mean, obviously, I think that poetry is music. That's what I think that it is. And there's many different kinds of tunes, right? And there's many different kinds of melodies, and there's many different feelings that are elicited from music, and likewise word music. For me, free verse form was really important in this one because I wanted it to show those textures and show those changes and surprise you a little bit, the same way spring comes and surprises you a little bit when you see that little bud knot on the tree for the first time. So I wanted every page to be a little bit of a surprise. I wanted the rhythm and the cadence to change within the actual longer piece of the poem, which has a very loose narrative. I mean, the narrative is the spring coming, and to have a refrain, for me, it came from the same way. I don't know the names of the dragons came. I don't always know, but at one point I was thinking about how much I had hummingbirds in my house a couple of years ago, and I thought they were giant bumblebees because the sound they make actually when they're trapped is like, I was like, what is that? But when they're out, I was like, the name hummingbird, the word hummingbird, and the sound of that word hum, it makes you want to hum. And so that's what happens. My mind kind of goes like weird about words, and all of a sudden that refrain popped up, and I think of all the things, hum, keep humming on, ringing, sing in the spring. The prayer for me is sparkly light on everything. And that is a little prayer for me, especially right now in a world of darkness and in a time of darkness, that light is hope. And God knows we need it. So that's where that, you listen to the song in your heart, but a lot of quiet, a lot of solitude. I know I talk a lot and people think that's me, but I spend more hours alone and in quiet than I do anywhere else. So a lot of listening to the music I could tap into. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, and I know, so fascinating for people to hear about both Deb's approach to the quilts and your approach to the poetry, and being so similar in terms of that sort of free verse, that sort of finding freedom and play, and yet it's just come together so beautifully. And you're right, it is a very hopeful book. There's something very hopeful about spring, and we all need that right now more than ever. And I always joke with Sheree, she always knows the book the world needs at exactly when they need it. And it's hard to even talk about this book without just crying, because it's you all know, you've heard it now. So I guess, I mean, that kind of, I feel like we might have answered this one, but what do you most want readers to take away from this book, the experience of reading it? Even if it's just one little thing.
You see, I find that such a hard question, because I don't ever write a book thinking I want the reader to feel this, that, or the other thing. It's like Deb says, if my work can elicit a smile, I've done my job. Well, when I was in grade 2, I went to Mrs. Goodwin and said, Mrs. Goodwin, I know what I want to do when I grow up. I want to write books and make people happy. Because I put my poem in the school fair and I saw people smile after they read the poem. And I think, if anything, I'm thinking that nonsense. I mean, I have written serious stuff too that you don't want to read. It's hard to read because it's sad. Joy is my thing. And I could not live in this world if I did not celebrate the wonder of the world and the hope that comes when I see the magic and the mystery that is there. And right now, it's good to have that capacity. And I just want to say something. If we look through the eyes of a child, I know that not every childhood is the same, but every one of us can remember not knowing and wondering, what is that? Oh, look at that. How long did you stare at that caterpillar on the ground? Like hours, I think I just spent close. And you're physically closer to the ground too. And so you notice those things. And I think if you can have your children too see the magic in the way the world changes, then that would be, celebrating our earth, this beautiful planet that we need to protect and love.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, I guess.
Deb's nodding.
I'm nodding.
Inspiring a love of spring. That's, it's an easy ask, I think. Now, my one last question for you before we get to, I think we have one more in the Q&A, and we'll see if other questions come in. If you could live in any page of this book, which would it be and why? I know it's a tough choice. I have mine picked out. Deb's like, I don't want to look at any of them for a while.
I knew I had a really good sense of what Sheree have chosen as where she would live. She'd be right inside the hen house. I think that I would be digging in the dirt. I would be with the shovels and I'd be digging up the worms and I'd be what was in there, seeing if I could find a nematode. And I'd probably be there. And I'd probably have some of those sunflower seeds tucked in my pocket. I could stick them in the ground. Yeah.
Sheree, what about you?
And you saw me hold up the page with the hens. Those hens, those are the like they're like they are the most, and Deb hasn't answered me yet, but I told her she cannot sell that because I want to. Anybody who's come to Mabel Merkles, by the way, in the last how many years, when they look at our shop, it's Deb's beautiful art that's adorned our little old rustic bookshop and has made it be so beautiful. So that's been Deb's art on our in our shop, in our bookshop. But these beautiful hens, and we've had spangled hens, and I think I'm one of them.
Yeah, you're definitely a polka dotted chicken.
That's me laying an egg.
People might recognize this one. It's hanging up when you walk into the Dreamery. So that one's been there for a little while. And I know Sheree was like, that's going in the book.
Yeah.
So that actually, someone was wondering if the quilts will be on display at Mabel Merkles this summer at any point, because they would love to see them.
If Sheree wants them, Sheree can have them on display. They'll also be on display in August from the 11th, or maybe it's the 12th. Anyway, from the 11th to the 31st, the Fraser Gallery in Tatamagouche will show the books, and we will also have a video, sort of a little short movie that shows the life lapse video for each of the ones that we made, that were made for the book as well. So they will be hanging around. Yeah,
that's great.
Now, but Whitney, your favorite one, and why would you live there?
Oh, okay. So my favorite, I know it is hard to pick a favorite, but compared to you two, I'm a bit more indoorsy. So the one I would pick is by the fire, reading books. But
yeah,
it depends on the day. But I really love that one. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's Sheree's living room, which I love. Like, yeah, there's just so much in here. There's so many little nods in here. And I feel like the whole thing is just kind of like a little secret between you and Sheree that is great.
Maybe a little bit.
And that's Jill's fireplace. That's Jill's fireplace, my husband's fireplace. So when I saw that, of course, I was so excited. And I think it was Katie, Deb, right, who suggested that. And Jill was so thrilled. And and I put Splash in, and I put David in with the saxophone. Like we did put little secrets in that we know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then, like you said, everyone will get something different out of it, which is always kind of what you hope for with a picture book. Marie wanted to comment on how the colors in the flowers and insects reflect the power of life released in the spring. So wanted to pass that along. Marilyn wants to know if you love each of the seasons. I imagine you do, but that's the question.
Fall is my favorite. I have to say, it's funny because this is all about hope, and fall is about things decaying and dying. And but I associate, it's funny. Oh, I just thought of that. So it's the first day of spring. My dad actually died on the first day of spring, 12 years ago today. And but I associate the fall with such an incredible, beautiful family time when I was a child, secret places that we went, and with my brother in the leaves and being buried and then bursting out. And the fall, even though it is, winter is coming, I love the winter too. I love them all. But yes, I love all the seasons, but I think the fall, for all the kind of memories and twigs in my hair from being buried in leaves. I still do that. I love the crunch and the sounds. Sounds to me like there's got to be a fall book sometime.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
What about you, Deb?
Well, it's interesting that Sheree says this, the fall season, because there is something very special about that. And I love fall for the way the world disintegrates a little bit. And it's like there is that kind of loss, but it's slow and it's gradual, and there's also this incredible beauty in it, because a green becomes this red leaf, or you could look at the leaves and sometimes you'll see like black and purple in them, and you get to, in the fall and in the winter, you can see the woods quite differently because everything has become bare. And in that bareness, you can see kind of this, you get to notice the bark more, you get to notice the growth on trees, and you can also see animals more readily in the fall. Yeah. So yeah, I can see doing fall, Sheree. So I totally see doing fall. Yeah.
So Andy or someone at the writer's side wants to know, can I ask a question? Who or what does the recurring bluebird represent for Deb?
Oh, good.
Can you ask that again?
They want to know, who or what does the recurring bluebird represent for Deb?
Okay, well, that was kind of an accidental thing that she would recur. But my daughter Maggie, when she was about 4 years old, drew a picture, and she drew that bluebird. And the bluebird was on a scarecrow that she had drawn. And the scarecrow, the arms were out straight like this, and it was the wonkiest scarecrow. And she put the bluebird on, and it just became something that I thought I would slip in every now and again in the book because it was kind of fun to do. So that's totally a nod to my daughter.
Aw, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And very observant for noticing that.
Yeah, that's very good. It took my mother a long time to see that.
I noticed it, but I couldn't remember where it was every place. And that's a great thing for people when they're reading to children. It's like, oh, there's the bluebird again. That's the kind of subtext that an artist can do that makes a book special. Like, you don't want a literal interpretation of your words. You want an artistic interpretation of your words that the artist offers us. And that's why I knew Deb would be amazing.
Yeah. It's part of the storytelling. It's not an accessory. It's just as important.
Yeah.
Any last questions? We've got a few minutes left here, or any final words that either of you want to offer? I've got a few things I need a few thank yous I need to do, but if either of you have anything you want to add, feel free.
Well, Sheree, I think you should talk about July.
Oh, July. July.
Yeah.
You mean Mabel Merkel's opening and all of that stuff?
Yeah.
So, and Deb and I are going to have a day just for us. I think July 9th. It was going to be the 1st, but I'm going away. But Mabel Merkel's will open this summer, and it will be a 9-week season from July the 1st until Labor Day weekend, as it always has been. And this year, it's a little special, and I don't know if I've told you, Deb, but it has to do with planting and gardening. I am getting down by the labyrinth where we walk. I would like it to be a peace walk this year, and I'm getting a whole patch down there rototilled, and we're the 4-H club is coming, and we're going to plant sunflowers, and just as a kind of a wonderful way to honor Ukraine, and hopefully people will donate. Maybe I haven't figured that part out yet, but the glorious magical thing that has become the bookshop, again, like a book, comes from people coming and bringing their energy. That's what makes it special. We can have a space, but it's not magical until people come and bring their energy. And the same, a book can't be a book unless it's read. And so you can edit it, Whitney, and the publishing company can publish it, and Deb can do all that work and the art, and I can do the words. But until that book is opened and read, it isn't the magic that is a book. And so I am so grateful. 35, how many years have I been doing my weird little thing and my hope of putting little sparks out in the universe? And what you realize is it's not about you at all. It's about what people get from it, and what readers bring to the reading of a book. So I'm still, after all this year, so grateful for readers, and I get to sell other people's books too. And I'm a big reader too, so that's exciting. But to put Deb's book this year in the hands of people, that's great. So we are going to have a day just for Deb and I. Was it July 9th, Deb? Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yeah, so come and we both sign it together. Oh, wouldn't that will be fun. And yes, and we are at Woozles on May the 7th, right?
Yep.
And that's near Mother's Day. Yeah.
And that is an incredible, for me, I just love that we're going to be at Woozles, because we will have come full circle. So the quilt art that Sheree first saw at Woozles, that was back in 1980 something. Well, in 1980 something, I worked at Woozles, and I just feel like and then we'll be back there together, and that's very exciting for me, because it's we've read a lot of children's books, and a lot of the children's books have come from Woozles, so it's just very exciting to have it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Deb, you and David had read my books before I ever met you to your children, am I right?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Oh yes, absolutely. And one of my favorites, I probably have never told you this, and now I'm going to forget the title of it. You Are Small.
I Am Small.
I Am Small.
And which has not been re-released, Whitney. That's my favorite book. Deb, that was my dad's, Gilles' favorite book, because he said, Sheree, it's the most like you. People would not know that because they see me as an extrovert, but that book, I Am Small, is,
and that's
beautiful.
Always my absolute favorite. Yeah.
Thanks, Deb. I didn't know that, but I guess maybe because it's actually me too.
I know that now.
Recognize.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. On behalf of all my colleagues at Nimbus, thanks for being here to help us sing in the spring today. Special thank you to Nimbus's art director, Heather Bryan, for her design work on the book, to publicist Kate Watson, who's on a well-deserved vacation today, for setting up today's launch. Thank you so much to the Writers Federation, especially Andy Verboom, for doing all the stuff in the background to make sure this goes seamlessly. And for just being great supporters of the writing community in Nova Scotia. The biggest, absolute, most heartfelt thank you to Deb and Sheree. I wish I could hug you both right now, but just know I'm sending a hug out to you. And thank you so much for just creating this little book full of joy and hope and light. I think we'll all turn to it again and again as we watch spring come to life. And you can purchase the book anywhere books are sold. And we encourage you to shop local. If you can stop in at Mabel Merple's when they're open, great. Woozles on May 7th. So just keep an eye out for events coming up. We're just getting started. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Deb and Sheree.
Breakfast television tomorrow, Deb.
Television. Early. Did you say 8:45?
Yeah.
8:45. Be there.
My mother will be there. Our mothers will be there, Deb.
Our mothers will be there, definitely. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for people who took time out of their Sunday to come listen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, July's just around the corner.
Did you see that I match I got my butterfly. Sorry. Okay, it's time to go.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.